A peaceful single father's world is shaken when a mysterious young woman appears, knowing far too much about a past he never shared. Deadly secrets begin to surface, forcing him to choose between protecting his daughter and uncovering the truth about his wife's death. As danger closes in, he realizes this stranger might be the only key to unraveling the mystery that has haunted his family for years. Will he risk everything for answers or stay silent to keep his daughter safe? Like this video, comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story reaches. The rain hit the kitchen window in bursts like someone throwing handfuls of gravel against the glass. Liam Carter stood at the sink, hands submerged in lukewarm dishwater, staring at nothing in particular. The plates could wait. Everything could wait. That was the rhythm now, motion without purpose, days that bled into each other with the grace of spilled ink. "Dad?" He turned. His daughter, Sophie, stood in the doorway wearing mismatched socks and a t-shirt 2 sizes too big. She was 7, small for her age with dark hair that never stayed in the ponytail he attempted every morning. "Yeah, Bug? Can I have cereal?" "You just had dinner." "I know, but I'm still hungry." Liam dried his hands on a dish towel that had seen better days. "You didn't eat your chicken." "It was dry." "It wasn't dry." "It was a little dry." He sighed, pulling the cabinet open. "Fine, 1 bowl, but that's it." Sophie grinned, climbing onto the stool at the counter. She swung her legs while he poured the cereal, milk sloshing over the edge because he wasn't paying attention. He grabbed a paper towel, wiped it up, slid the bowl across to her. "Thanks, Dad." "Yeah." He leaned against the counter, watching her eat. She had her mother's eyes. Everyone said so. Liam used to hate hearing it. Now he just felt numb to it, the same way he felt numb to most things. Grief had a way of dulling the edges, turning sharp pain into a low, constant hum that never quite went away. It had been 3 years since the accident. 3 years since Claire had left for work one morning and never come home. The official report said brake failure. A steep hill, wet roads, a guardrail that didn't hold. The car had gone over the embankment and into the ravine below. By the time they pulled her out, there wasn't much left to identify. Liam had been asked to confirm details. Her wedding ring, a scar on her wrist from a childhood fall, the necklace she never took off. He'd signed the papers, attended the funeral, accepted condolences from people who didn't know what else to say, and then he'd stopped asking questions. Because what was the point? She was gone. No amount of asking why would bring her back. Sophie finished her cereal and hopped off the stool, bowl still half full of milk. "Hey, finish it." "I'm full now." "Sophie." She dragged herself back, drank the milk in 3 long gulps, then wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. "Better?" "Much." She disappeared upstairs and Liam was alone again. He rinsed her bowl, added it to the pile, and stared out the window at the rain. The house felt too big. It always had, even when Claire was alive. She'd wanted space for a second kid, maybe a third. Liam had gone along with it because that's what you did when you loved someone. You made plans, bought houses, imagined futures that might never come. Now it was just him and Sophie rattling around in 4 bedrooms and a yard that needed mowing. His phone buzzed on the counter. He picked it up, expecting a work email or some automated reminder he'd ignore. Instead, it was a message from an unknown number. "Is the room still available?" Liam frowned. 6 months ago, when money had gotten tight and the medical bills from Claire's accident were still trickling in, he'd posted an ad online. Single father looking for a quiet tenant. Private room, shared kitchen, and bathroom. Utilities included. He'd gotten a few responses, mostly people who flaked after the initial message or showed up, took one look at the place, and decided they'd rather live somewhere that didn't smell faintly of old coffee and regret. He'd taken the ad down 2 months ago, but apparently it was still circulating somewhere. He typed back, "Yeah, still available. When do you want to see it?" The reply came almost immediately. "Tomorrow afternoon, around 2? "Works for me. Address is 428 Maple Street." "I know." Liam stared at the screen. "I know." He reread it twice, then set the phone down. Probably just someone who'd seen the ad before he deleted it. No big deal. Still, something about it felt off. The next day was a Saturday, which meant Sophie had dance class at noon. Liam sat in the waiting area with the other parents. half watching through the studio window as a dozen little girls stumbled through a routine that was supposed to be a waltz but looked more like controlled chaos. Sophie was in the back row, tongue poking out in concentration, trying to remember the steps. She wasn't a natural dancer. Liam had suggested soccer, but she'd insisted on ballet. Claire would have loved that. She'd done ballet as a kid, had all these old photos of herself in tutus and stage makeup, smiling like she owned the world. Liam's phone buzzed. Another message. "Running a few minutes early. Is 1:45 okay?" He glanced at the time. It was 12:30. Dance would be over at 1, and they'd be home by 1:15 if traffic cooperated. Yeah, that's fine. He pocketed the phone and went back to watching Sophie, who had just spun in the wrong direction and nearly collided with another girl.
You are suspicious.
By the time they got home, Liam had 15 minutes to make the place look like people actually lived there on purpose. He told Sophie to pick up her toys, shoved a pile of laundry into the closet, and ran a vacuum over the living room carpet. The doorbell rang at exactly 1:45. Liam opened it, and for a second he forgot what he was supposed to say. The woman standing on his porch was younger than he'd expected. Mid-20s, maybe. Dark hair pulled into a loose bun, sharp features, eyes that didn't miss much. She wore jeans, a gray jacket, and a backpack slung over one shoulder. There was something about the way she stood, like she was used to being ready to move at a moment's notice. "Liam Carter?" she said. "Yeah, you must be..." He realized he didn't actually know her name. "Elena Hayes." She stuck out her hand. He shook it. Her grip was firm, deliberate. "Come in." She stepped inside, glancing around the entryway with the kind of focus most people reserve for job interviews or crime scenes. "Nice place," she said. "It's all right." Sophie appeared at the top of the stairs, staring down at them. "Hey, Bug. This is Elena. She's looking at the room." Elena looked up, smiled. "Hi, Sophie." Sophie didn't smile back. "How do you know my name?" Liam felt his stomach tighten. Elena didn't miss a beat. "Your dad mentioned you when we texted." Liam hadn't mentioned her. Sophie seemed to accept the explanation, though, and disappeared back into her room. Liam led Elena down the hallway to the spare bedroom. It was small, just enough space for a bed, a dresser, and a desk if you didn't mind feeling cramped. The window looked out over the backyard, which was mostly weeds and a rusted swing set Sophie had outgrown 2 years ago. "Bathroom's shared," Liam said. "Kitchen, too. I usually cook dinner around 6, but you're welcome to use it whenever." Elena walked to the window, looked out. "What happened to the swing set?" "She got too big for it. You could fix it up. Donate it, maybe." "Yeah, I could." He didn't mention that he'd been saying that for 2 years. Elena turned back to him. "How much?" $600 a month. First and last up front. Utilities? Included. She nodded, like she'd already decided. "When can I move in?" "You don't want to think about it?" "I've thought about it." Liam crossed his arms. "You always make decisions this fast?" "When I know what I want?" "Yeah." There was something in her tone, not arrogance exactly, but confidence that bordered on it. Like she'd already mapped out the next 6 moves and knew how each one would play. "All right," Liam said. "You can move in tomorrow if you want." "Tomorrow works." She pulled out her phone, tapped a few times, and his phone buzzed. "There's the deposit," she said. He checked. $1,200. Exactly what he'd asked for. "Fast," he said. "I don't like waiting." "Yeah, I'm getting that." Elena slung her backpack over her shoulder. "I'll be here around 10. That okay?" "Sure." She headed for the door, then paused. "Thanks, Liam." "For what?" "Giving me a chance." Before he could respond, she was gone. Liam stood in the hallway, staring at the empty doorway. Sophie's voice drifted down from upstairs. "Dad?" "Yeah?" "I don't like her." "You just met her." "She's weird." Liam climbed the stairs, found Sophie sitting on her bed with a book she wasn't reading. "What's weird about her, Shem?" he asked. "She knew my name." "I told her." "No, you didn't. I was listening." Liam sat down on the edge of the bed. "Maybe I mentioned it in a text." "Did you?" He thought about it. He hadn't. "She probably just guessed," he said, "or heard me call you Bug." Sophie didn't look convinced, but she didn't argue. Liam kissed the top of her head. It'll be fine. She's just renting a room. Okay. He left her there and went back downstairs, but the unease lingered. Elena had known Sophie's name. She'd known the address before he gave it, and the way she'd looked at the house. Like she was cataloging it, memorizing every detail. Liam told himself he was being paranoid, but paranoia had kept him and Sophie safe for 3 years. He wasn't about to ignore it now. Elena showed up the next morning at 9:47, 13 minutes early, with 2 duffel bags and a laptop case. No furniture, no boxes, nothing that suggested she was planning to stay long. Liam helped her carry the bags upstairs, then left her to unpack. Sophie watched from the kitchen table, eating cereal and pretending not to stare. She doesn't have a lot of stuff, Sophie said. Some people travel light, or they're running from something. Liam looked at his 7-year-old daughter. Where'd you hear that? A movie? What movie? I don't remember. He poured himself coffee, leaned against the counter. She's not running from anything. How do you know? I don't, but we're giving her the benefit of the doubt. Sophie went back to her cereal, unconvinced. An hour later, Elena came downstairs. She'd changed into joggers and a hoodie, hair tied back, looking more relaxed than she had the day before. Coffee? Liam offered. Please. He poured her a cup, slid it across the counter. Thanks. She took a sip, then glanced at Sophie. What are you reading? Sophie held up the book. Some fantasy thing with dragons on the cover. Any good? Elena asked. It's okay. Just okay? The main character's annoying, Elena smiled. Yeah? Why? She keeps making stupid decisions. Like what? Like trusting people she shouldn't trust. Liam caught the look Sophie shot in Elena's direction. Elena didn't flinch. That's fair. Trust is tricky. Especially with strangers, Sophie said. Sophie, Liam warned. It's fine, Elena said. She set her coffee down, looked at Sophie directly. You're right to be cautious. I'd be suspicious too if I were you. Sophie blinked, surprised. But for what it's worth, Elena continued, I'm not here to cause problems. I just need a place to stay for a while. Why here? Sophie asked. Sophie, it's okay, Elena said again. She paused, choosing her words. I needed somewhere quiet, somewhere I could think. About what? Stuff I should have dealt with a long time ago. It was vague enough to be meaningless, specific enough to feel honest. Sophie studied her for a long moment, then went back to her book. Elena picked up her coffee and headed toward the stairs. Let me know if you need anything, Liam said. Will do. She disappeared upstairs, and Liam was left standing in the kitchen with the distinct feeling that he'd just been outmaneuvered by both a 7-year-old and a woman he'd known for less than 24 hours. The first week was uneventful. Elena kept to herself mostly. She'd emerge in the mornings for coffee, occasionally make small talk, then retreat to her room. Liam didn't see her much during the day. He worked from home doing freelance graphic design, and she seemed to be on her laptop constantly, though he had no idea what she was working on. Sophie warmed up to her, slowly. It started with little things. Elena would ask about Sophie's day, and Sophie would actually answer instead of shrugging. Then Elena started helping with homework, which Liam appreciated because math had never been his strong suit. By the end of the second week, Sophie was inviting Elena to watch movies with them. Liam told himself it was fine. Sophie needed more people in her life, and Elena seemed genuine enough. But he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. It was the small things. The way Elena always seemed to know when he was about to walk into a room. The way she'd glance at the street outside like she was expecting someone. The way she never talked about her family, her job, or where she'd been before this. One night, after Sophie had gone to bed, Liam found Elena in the kitchen making tea. Can I ask you something? He said. She looked up. Sure. What do you do? For work, I mean. Research, mostly. What kind of research? Corporate stuff. Compliance, regulatory issues. Pretty boring. Sounds like it pays well. It pays enough. Liam leaned against the counter. You're not much of a talker, are you? Elena smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I talk when I have something to say. Fair enough. She poured hot water over her tea bag, watching it steep. Can I ask you something? Go ahead. What happened to your wife? The question landed like a stone in still water. Liam's jaw tightened. Car accident. 3 years ago. I'm sorry. Everyone is. Do you mind if I ask what happened? You don't have to answer. Brake failure. She went off the road. Elena was quiet for a moment. That must have been hard. Yeah. Did they ever figure out why the brakes failed? Liam looked at her sharply. Why are you asking? Just curious? That's a weird thing to be curious about. Elena met his gaze unflinching. You're right. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have pried. So she picked up her tea and started toward the stairs. Elena. She stopped. If you know something, Liam said slowly, you should tell me. I don't know anything. Then why ask? Because sometimes accidents aren't accidents. The words hung in the air between them. What's that supposed to mean? Liam asked. It means you should ask more questions. I asked plenty of questions. Did you? Or did you just accept what they told you? Liam's hands curled into fists. Get out. Elena didn't move. Liam, I said get out. Now. She held his gaze for another second, then turned and walked upstairs. Liam stood in the kitchen, heart pounding, anger and confusion warring in his chest. Who the hell did she think she was? He grabbed his phone, pulled up the number for the investigator who'd handled Claire's case. He hadn't called in over a year, but the guy had told him to reach out if he ever needed anything. The phone rang 4 times, then went to voicemail. Liam hung up without leaving a message. He paced the kitchen, trying to calm down. Sometimes accidents aren't accidents. What the hell did that mean? And why would Elena even say it unless she knew something? He wanted to march upstairs and demand answers, but he also didn't want to wake Sophie. And part of him, the part that had spent 3 years trying to move on, didn't want to know. Because if Claire's death wasn't an accident, that meant someone had killed her. And if someone had killed her, that meant Liam had spent 3 years doing nothing while they walked free. He sat down at the kitchen table, head in his hands. This was a mistake. Letting Elena move in had been a mistake. He'd ask her to leave in the morning. Yes, but when morning came, Elena was gone. Not gone as in moved out. Her bags were still in her room. But she wasn't in the house. Liam checked her room, then the backyard, then walked around the block. Nothing. He called her phone. It went straight to voicemail. Sophie came downstairs, rubbing her eyes. Where's Elena? I don't know. Is she coming back? I don't know that either, Sophie frowned. Did you guys fight? Something like that. Are you going to kick her out? Liam hesitated. Maybe. I don't think you should. Why not? Because I think she's trying to help. Help with what? Sophie shrugged. I don't know, but she seems sad, like she's looking for something. Liam stared at his daughter, wondering when she'd gotten so perceptive. Go get dressed, he said. We'll figure it out later. Sophie trudged upstairs, and Liam went back to the kitchen. Elena's tea mug was still on the counter, half full and cold. He dumped it in the sink, then stood there staring at nothing. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said anything, but you deserve the truth. Liam's pulse quickened. Who is this? It's Elena. Meet me at the corner of 5th and Oak in an hour. Come alone. He stared at the message. Every instinct told him not to go. This was how people got hurt, following cryptic messages from strangers who'd already proven they couldn't be trusted. But another part of him, the part that had been quietly screaming for 3 years, needed to know. He texted back. I'll be there. Betcha. 5th and Oak was a residential intersection on the edge of town, lined with old houses and overgrown trees. Liam parked his car and waited. Elena appeared 5 minutes later, walking from the opposite direction. She looked different, hair down, wearing a jacket he hadn't seen before, eyes sharper than usual. She slid into the passenger seat. Thanks for coming, she said. Start talking. Elena took a breath. 3 years ago, your wife worked as an auditor for Meridian Industries. She was reviewing their financials when she found discrepancies, millions of dollars unaccounted for. Liam's chest tightened. How do you know that? Because I was working on the same case. Different angle, but same company. What case? Fraud, embezzlement, money laundering. Take your pick. Meridian was dirty, and Claire found proof. Why didn't she tell me? Maybe she didn't want to worry you, or maybe she didn't get the chance. Liam's hands gripped the steering wheel. You're saying they killed her? I'm saying her brakes didn't fail on their own. Do you have proof? Elena pulled a folder from her bag, handed it to him. Inside were documents, maintenance records, police reports, photos of the crash site, and at the bottom, a mechanic's report that Liam had never seen before. It stated that the brake lines had been deliberately cut. Liam's vision blurred. Why didn't this come out? He asked, voice shaking. Because someone buried it, someone with enough power to make sure the investigation went away quietly. And you've been sitting on this for 3 years? No. I've been chasing it for 3 years, but every time I got close, something happened. Witnesses disappeared. Evidence went missing. I've been trying to build a case, but I needed more. More what? Leverage. And I think you have it. Liam looked at her. What are you talking about? Claire kept backups, files, emails, anything she thought might be useful. Did she ever mention where she stored them? Liam thought back, trying to remember. Claire had been meticulous about work. She'd kept files on her laptop, sure, but she'd also been paranoid about losing data. She had an external drive, he said slowly. But I never found it after she died. Did you look? Of course I looked. Maybe you didn't look hard enough. Liam's jaw clenched. Don't tell me I didn't look hard enough. I'm not trying to insult you. I'm saying Claire knew how to hide things. If she wanted that drive to stay hidden until someone knew where to look, she'd have made sure it did. Liam stared at the folder in his hands, mind racing. If what Elena was saying was true, if Claire had been murdered, then everything he'd believed for the past 3 years was a lie, and the people responsible were still out there. Why now? He asked. Why come to me now? Because I ran out of options, and because you deserve to know. Liam looked at her, really looked at her, and saw something he recognized. She wasn't just angry, she was haunted. This isn't just about justice for you, is it? He said. Elena's expression flickered. No. What happened? They took someone from me too. Who? My sister. She was Claire's assistant. The pieces clicked into place. She was in the car, Liam said. Elena nodded, eyes wet. They made it look like she was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, but I know better. Liam exhaled slowly. So what now? Now we find that drive, and we finish what they started. He wanted to say no. He wanted to tell her to leave and never come back. But Sophie's voice echoed in his head. I think she's trying to help. And maybe she was, or maybe she was dragging him into something that would get them both killed. Either way, Liam realized he'd already made his choice. Okay, he said, let's find it. Elena reached out, put a hand on his arm. Thank you. Liam didn't respond. He just started the car and drove them back home, the folder sitting heavy on the seat between them. That night, after Sophie was asleep, Liam and Elena tore the house apart. They started in the garage where Claire used to keep her work files. Boxes of old papers, tax documents, bank statements, nothing. Then the attic. More boxes. Mostly Christmas decorations and baby clothes Liam hadn't been able to throw away. Still nothing. Where else would she hide it? Elena asked. Liam sat on the floor, surrounded by clutter. I don't know. I've been through everything. Elena looked around, thinking, what about her office? She didn't have an office. She worked from home sometimes, didn't she? Yeah, but she used the kitchen table. Did she have a desk? Anywhere she'd sit when she needed to focus? Liam thought about it. The guest room, she'd work in there when she needed quiet. They went to the guest room, now Elena's room, and started searching. Elena pulled the desk away from the wall, checked behind it. Nothing. Liam opened the closet, moved boxes aside, ran his hands along the walls. And then he felt it. A seam. Almost invisible. But there. He pressed on it, and a panel popped loose. Behind it was a small space, just big enough for... Found it, Liam said. He reached in and pulled out a slim external hard drive, wrapped in plastic. Elena came over, staring at it like it was something sacred. That's it, she whispered. Liam turned it over in his hands. It was heavier than he expected. Now what? He asked. Now we see what's on it. They went downstairs to the kitchen. Elena pulled out her laptop, plugged in the drive. It took a moment to load, and then files. Hundreds of them. Emails, spreadsheets, scanned documents, all labeled with dates and case numbers. Elena scrolled through them, eyes moving fast. This is everything, she said. Invoices, wire transfers, shell companies. Claire documented all of it. Liam leaned over her shoulder, reading. Meridian Industries had been funneling money through fake subsidiaries, inflating contracts, bribing officials. And Claire had tracked every transaction. We need to get this to someone, Liam said. Who? The police buried the investigation last time. We can't trust them. Then who? Elena thought for a moment. I know a journalist, someone who won't back down. You sure? As sure as I can be. Liam nodded. Okay, do it. Elena started copying files to a secure folder, then froze. What? Liam asked. Someone's watching the house. Liam's blood went cold. What? Elena pointed to her laptop screen where a security app was running. It showed a live feed from a camera she must have set up outside. A black SUV was parked across the street, engine running. How long has it been there? Liam asked. Just pulled up. Liam grabbed his phone. I'm calling the cops. No, they'll be gone before the cops get here, and we don't know who we can trust. Then what do we do? Elena closed the laptop, unplugged the drive. We leave now. I'm not leaving Sophie. Then wake her up. But we need to move. Liam ran upstairs, shook Sophie awake. Dad, she mumbled. Get dressed, quick. What's wrong? Just trust me. Come on. Sophie scrambled out of bed, pulling on clothes while Liam grabbed her backpack and shoved in whatever he could reach. By the time they got downstairs, Elena was at the door, bag over her shoulder, keys in hand. Back door, she said. My car's in the alley. They slipped out through the kitchen, moving fast and quiet. Elena's car was an old sedan, nondescript and practical. She unlocked it, and they piled in. Liam in the passenger seat, Sophie in the back. Elena started the engine and pulled out of the alley, headlights off. Liam glanced back. The SUV was still there, but no one had gotten out. Where are we going? He asked. Somewhere safe. I have a place. Sophie leaned forward. Dad, what's happening? It's okay, Bug. We're just taking a little trip. In the middle of the night? Yeah. She didn't look convinced, but she didn't argue. Elena drove in silence, taking side streets and doubling back twice to make sure they weren't being followed. After 20 minutes, she pulled into a motel parking lot on the outskirts of town. Wait here, she said. She went inside, came back 5 minutes later with a key. They followed her to a room on the second floor, small, dated, but clean enough. Sophie climbed onto one of the beds and curled up, exhausted. Liam stood by the window, watching the parking lot. Elena set her bag down, pulled out the hard drive. We need to move fast. If they know we have this, they'll come after us. So, what's the plan? I contact my journalist friend. We get the files to her tonight. Once it's out, they can't stop it. And then? Then we wait, and hope they don't find us first. Liam looked at Sophie, asleep on the bed, and felt a surge of guilt. He'd brought this into their lives. He'd let Elena in, and now his daughter was hiding in a motel because people wanted them dead. I'm sorry, Elena said quietly. For what? For dragging you into this. You didn't drag me. I chose to help. Still, I should have stayed away. Liam turned to her. Would you have? Elena met his eyes. No. Then stop apologizing. She nodded, then pulled out her laptop and got to work. Liam sat on the edge of the other bed, watching her type, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on him. 3 years ago, he'd lost his wife. Tonight, he might have lost his home. But for the first time in a long time, he felt like he was fighting back. And that had to count for something. Elena's fingers moved across the keyboard like she was defusing a bomb. Precise, methodical, no wasted motion. The motel room smelled like stale cigarettes and industrial cleaner, and the air conditioner rattled in a way that suggested it might give up any second. Liam sat on the edge of the bed, watching Sophie sleep, trying to keep his breathing steady. How long? He asked. Few more minutes, Elena said without looking up. I'm encrypting everything before I send it. Will that keep them from finding us? No, but it'll keep them from stopping the story. Liam rubbed his face. His hands were shaking. He hadn't noticed until now. You okay? Elena asked. Not really. Fair. She kept typing. Liam stood, walked to the window, pulled the curtain back just enough to see the parking lot. A few cars, none of them the black SUV. That didn't mean they were safe. It just meant they had a head start. What if your journalist friend doesn't believe it? He asked. She will. How do you know? Because she's been trying to nail Meridian for years. This is everything she's been looking for. And if they get to her first? Elena paused just for a second. They won't. You sound sure. I have to be. Liam let the curtain fall back into place. What happens after she publishes? Depends. If the story's big enough, it'll force an investigation. Real one this time. People will get arrested. Maybe. Maybe. Rich people don't go to jail as often as they should. So we're doing all this and they might just walk? Elena finally looked at him. You want guarantees you're in the wrong life. That's not an answer. It's the only one I've got. Liam wanted to argue, but he didn't have the energy. Instead, he sat back down, elbows on his knees, head in his hands. I should have asked more questions, he said quietly. About what? About Claire. About the accident. I let it go. You were grieving. That's not an excuse. It's not, but it's also not your fault. Liam looked up. Feels like it is. Elena closed her laptop. You want to blame yourself, fine, but that doesn't change what we're doing now. And what are we doing? Finishing what they started. She pulled out her phone, typed a quick message, hit send. Done, she said. Files are with her. She'll start working on it tonight. Liam exhaled. Now what? Now we wait. For how long? However long it takes. Sophie stirred on the bed, mumbling something in her sleep. Liam moved closer, brushed the hair out of her face. She looked so small, too small to be caught up in this. She shouldn't be here, he said. I know. If something happens to her, it won't. You don't know that. Elena stood, walked over to him. You're right, I don't. But I do know that running won't keep her safe. The only way out is through. That's easy to say when it's not your kid. Elena's expression hardened. My sister was 23. She had her whole life ahead of her, and they killed her because she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. So don't tell me I don't understand what's at stake. Liam held her gaze, then nodded. I'm sorry. Don't be. Just stay focused. She went back to her laptop, and Liam sat there feeling like an idiot. They stayed in the motel for 2 days. Elena left once to get food, fast food bags and bottled water, and came back looking more tense than when she'd left. What? Liam asked. Nothing, just paranoid. Did you see something? No, but that doesn't mean they're not looking. Sophie was handling it better than Liam expected. She asked questions, why they were staying here, when they were going home. But she didn't panic. Maybe she was too young to fully grasp how bad things could get, or maybe she just trusted him to keep her safe. Either way, Liam felt the weight of it. On the second night, Elena's phone buzzed. She read the message, then looked at Liam. She's publishing tomorrow morning. That's it? That's it? What do we do until then? We stay here, and we don't open the door for anyone. Liam nodded. Sophie was watching TV, some cartoon she'd seen 100 times, and Liam sat next to her, trying to pretend everything was normal. Dad? She said after a while. Yeah, Bug? Are we in trouble? Why would you think that? Because we're hiding. Liam hesitated. He wanted to lie, to tell her everything was fine, but Sophie was smart. She'd see through it. We're being careful, he said. There are some people who might want to cause problems, so we're staying out of the way until it's safe. What kind of problems? The kind that grown-ups have to deal with. Sophie frowned. That's not a real answer. I know. She looked at him, and for a second she looked so much like Claire it hurt. Are we going to be okay? She asked. Yeah, we're going to be okay. You promise? Liam pulled her close. I promise. He hoped it wasn't a lie. The next morning, Elena's phone started blowing up. She sat on the bed, scrolling through notifications, and for the first time since Liam had met her, she smiled. "It's live," she said. "The article?" "Yeah, front page of the Herald. Meridian Industries linked to fatal cover-up." She didn't hold back. Liam grabbed his own phone, pulled up the article. The headline was brutal. The opening paragraph even more so. Claire's name was there, along with Elena's sister, and the details of the crash. But more than that, the article laid out the financial fraud, shell companies, falsified contracts, bribed officials. And it named names: CEO, CFO, board members. People Liam had never heard of, but who, according to the article, had built fortunes on stolen money. "This is going to blow up," Elena said. "Good." "Yeah, but it also means they're going to come after us harder." Liam looked at her. "You think they know where we are?" "Not yet, but they will." "So what do we do?" Elena started packing her bag. "We move. Again." "Where?" "Somewhere they won't think to look." Sophie looked up from the TV. "Are we leaving?" "Yeah, Bug, grab your stuff." She groaned but did as she was told. Liam helped Elena pack, and within 10 minutes they were in the car again. Elena drove in silence, taking back roads and avoiding highways. Liam kept checking the mirrors, waiting for headlights to appear behind them. "Where are we going?" he asked. "A friend's place. She owes me a favor." "Can we trust her?" "As much as we can trust anyone right now." That wasn't reassuring, but Liam didn't push it. They drove for an hour, finally pulling up to a small house on the outskirts of a town Liam didn't recognize. The paint was peeling, the lawn overgrown, but the lights were on. Elena parked, got out, knocked on the door. A woman answered, mid-40s, short hair, sharp eyes. She looked at Elena, then at Liam and Sophie in the car. "You brought a kid?" the woman said. "I didn't have a choice." The woman sighed. "Get inside." They followed her in. The house was cluttered but clean, filled with books and papers, and the kind of organized chaos that came from someone who lived alone and didn't care what anyone thought. "This is Rachel," Elena said. "She's a lawyer. Used to work white-collar crime." Rachel crossed her arms. "Used to being the key phrase. I'm retired." "You're 46, and I'm done dealing with people like Meridian." "Then it's a good thing we're the ones being chased." Rachel gave her a look. "You always bring this much drama?" "Only when it matters." Rachel glanced at Liam. "You're the husband?" "Widower," Liam said. "Right. Sorry." She didn't sound sorry. "You know what you're getting into?" "Not really." "Smart answer." She looked at Sophie. "Kid hungry?" Sophie nodded. "Kitchen's through there. Help yourself." Sophie looked at Liam, who nodded, and she disappeared into the kitchen. Rachel turned to Elena. "How bad is it?" "Bad. They know we have the files. They've been watching Liam's house. And now they're probably watching mine. I made sure we weren't followed." "You think you made sure. There's a difference." Elena didn't argue. Rachel poured herself a drink, whiskey, straight, and leaned against the counter. "So what's the plan?" "Wait for the story to hit critical mass. Once enough people are paying attention, they can't touch us without making it worse." "That's optimistic." "You have a better idea?" "Yeah, witness protection, federal marshals, let the professionals handle it." "We don't know who's been bought. Can't trust them." Rachel took a sip. "Then you're screwed." "Maybe, but we're not giving up." Rachel looked at Liam. "She always this stubborn?" "I've known her a week." "And you're still here?" "Didn't have much of a choice." Rachel laughed, but there was no humor in it. "All right, you can stay. But if anyone shows up, you're on your own." "Fair enough," Elena said. Rachel gestured to the hallway. "Guest room's upstairs, couch pulls out if you need it. Don't touch my bourbon." She walked off, leaving them standing in the living room. Liam looked at Elena. "She seems friendly." "She's practical. That's better than friendly." "If you say so." They settled in for the night. Sophie fell asleep on the couch, and Liam sat in a chair by the window watching the street. Elena sat across from him, laptop open, monitoring the news. "It's spreading," she said. "Other outlets are picking it up. Social media is going crazy." "That's good, right?" "Yeah. But it also means Meridian's PR team is scrambling. They'll put out a statement soon, Probably deny everything. Will it matter? Depends on how much the public cares. Liam rubbed his eyes. He was exhausted, but he couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Claire's face. Do you think she knew? He asked. Elena looked up. Knew what? That they were going to kill her. Elena was quiet for a moment. I don't know. Maybe. She should have told me. She was probably trying to protect you. Yeah, look how that turned out. Elena closed her laptop. You can't think like that. Why not? Because it'll eat you alive. Liam didn't respond. Elena stood, walked over to the window. When my sister died, I spent months blaming myself. I kept thinking, if I just called her that morning, if I'd told her not to go to work, maybe she'd still be alive. And eventually I realized it didn't matter. She was gone. The only thing I could do was make sure the people responsible paid for it. Did they? Not yet. But they will. She said it with the kind of certainty that came from someone who'd already decided how the story would end. Liam wanted to believe her. He just wasn't sure he could. The next morning, Meridian Industries released a statement. Elena read it aloud from her laptop. We categorically deny all allegations made in the recent article published by the Herald. These claims are baseless and appear to be part of a coordinated smear campaign by disgruntled former employees. We are cooperating fully with authorities and are confident that the truth will prevail. Liam snorted. That's it? That's their defense? Standard playbook. Deny, deflect, discredit. Will it work? Not if we keep pushing. Rachel walked in, coffee in hand. You see the news this morning? The statement? Elena said. Not that. The FBI opened an investigation. Elena sat up. What? Rachel handed her phone over. The headline read, FBI launches probe into Meridian Industries following fraud allegations. Elena scrolled through the article, eyes moving fast. They're taking it seriously. For now, Rachel said. But don't get your hopes up. These things take time, and people like Meridian have lawyers who can drag it out for years. So what do? You keep your heads down, let the feds do their job, and hope you don't end up as collateral damage. Liam stood. We can't just sit here. Why not? Rachel asked. Because they're still out there, and they know who we are. Which is exactly why you should stay put. She's right, Elena said. We go out there, we're exposed. And if we stay here, we're sitting ducks. Rachel raised an eyebrow. You got a death wish? No. But I'm not going to hide while they figure out how to clean up their mess. And Elena looked at him. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we go on the offensive. How? We find more evidence, something they can't deny. Rachel laughed. You're out of your mind. Maybe, but I'm also right. Elena leaned back, thinking. He's not wrong. The files we gave this journalist are solid, but if we can find something more, internal emails, recorded conversations, financial records they haven't scrubbed, it'd be impossible to ignore. And where do you plan to find that? Rachel asked. Meridian's headquarters. Rachel set her coffee down. You're serious. Dead serious. You know they have security, right? Cameras, guards, the whole 9 yards? Yeah, but they're also panicking, which means they're making mistakes. Rachel shook her head. This is insane. You got a better idea? Yeah, don't get yourself killed. Elena looked at Liam. You really want to do this? I want them to pay. And if that means taking a risk, then yeah. I'm in. Elena nodded slowly. Okay, but we do this smart. No cowboys, no improvising. We plan it out, we stick to the plan, and we get out clean. Agreed. Rachel poured herself another cup of coffee. Well, don't drag me into it. I'm too old for this. We won't, Elena said, but she was already pulling up blueprints on her laptop. It took 2 days to plan. Elena mapped out the building, identified the security weak points, and figured out a window of time when they'd have the best chance of getting in and out unnoticed. Liam felt useless through most of it. He wasn't a spy, wasn't a thief. He was a graphic designer who'd spent the last 3 years trying to forget the past. But Elena didn't seem to care. She walked him through the plan step by step, made sure he understood his role, and drilled him on what to do if things went wrong. Worst case, she said, we get caught. You run. Don't wait for me. Don't try to be a hero. Just get out. I'm not leaving you. You will if I tell you to. Elena, this isn't a negotiation. Sophie needs you. I don't. Liam wanted to argue, but he knew she was right. The night before they were supposed to go, Liam couldn't sleep. He sat in the dark, staring at the ceiling, listening to Sophie breathe in the next room. Elena found him there around 2 in the morning. You okay? She asked. Not really. She sat down next to him. Second thoughts? Third, fourth, fifth. We don't have to do this. Yeah, we do. Elena didn't argue. They sat in silence for a while, and then Liam spoke. Why are you doing this? He asked. I told you, my sister… No. I mean, why are you still doing this? You could have walked away years ago. Let someone else fight this fight. Elena was quiet. Because if I don't, who will? Someone. Eventually. Maybe, but eventually doesn't bring people back. Liam understood that better than he wanted to. You ever think about what happens after? He asked. After what? After we win. If we win. Elena smiled faintly. Haven't gotten that far yet. Me neither. They sat there until the sun started to come up, and then Elena stood. Get some rest, she said. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. Liam nodded, though he knew he wouldn't sleep. What? The next evening, they drove to Meridian's headquarters. It was a sleek glass building on the edge of the business district, the kind of place that screamed money and power. Elena parked 2 blocks away, and they walked the rest of the way, blending in with the last few employees leaving for the day. Cameras are on a loop, Elena said quietly. We've got a 10-minute window. And if the window closes? Then we improvise. Liam's heart was pounding, but he kept his face neutral. They slipped in through a side entrance Elena had identified, a service door that was supposed to be locked but wasn't. Security oversight, she'd said, or maybe just luck. Inside, the building was sterile and quiet. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead and their footsteps echoed on the tile floor. Elena led the way, moving with the kind of confidence that came from having done this before. They reached the executive floor, and Elena pulled out a keycard she'd somehow acquired. Where'd you get that? Liam whispered. Don't ask. She swiped it, and the door clicked open. The office inside was massive. Mahogany desk, leather chairs, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. And on the desk, a computer that was still on. Jackpot, Elena muttered. She sat down, fingers flying across the keyboard. Liam stood by the door, watching the hallway. How long? He asked. Few minutes, maybe less. We don't have a few minutes. Then keep watch. Liam's pulse hammered in his ears. Every second felt like an hour. And then he heard it. Footsteps. Elena, I'm almost done. We need to go. Now. The footsteps were getting closer. Elena yanked a USB drive out of the computer, shoved it in her pocket, and stood. They moved toward the door, but it was too late. A man appeared in the hallway. Security guard, hand on his radio. Hey, what are you doing up here? Elena didn't hesitate. She grabbed Liam's arm and pulled him toward the stairwell. Stop! They ran. The guard shouted into his radio, and Liam heard more footsteps, multiple people, closing in fast. They hit the stairwell, took the steps 2 at a time. Elena pushed through the exit door at the bottom, and they burst out into the alley. Car's this way, she said, sprinting. Liam followed, lungs burning. They reached the car, jumped in, and Elena peeled out before Liam even had his seatbelt on. Behind them, he saw security guards pouring out of the building, but they were already gone. Elena drove fast, weaving through traffic until they were miles away and the adrenaline started to fade. Did we get it? Liam asked, breathless. Elena pulled the USB drive out of her pocket, held it up. Yeah, we got it. Liam leaned back, closing his eyes. They'd done it, and now there was no turning back. Elena didn't slow down until they were back at Rachel's house, parked in the driveway with the engine still ticking as it cooled. Liam's hands were shaking. He pressed them against his knees, trying to steady himself, but the adrenaline was still coursing through him like electricity. That was close, he said. Yeah. Too close. Elena pulled the USB drive from her pocket, stared at it like it might explode. But we got what we needed. You sure? Won't know until we look. They got out of the car and headed inside. Rachel was in the living room, feet up on the coffee table, reading a book. She looked up when they walked in, took one look at their faces, and set the book down. "You're alive," she said. "That's something." "Barely," Liam muttered. Rachel stood. "What happened?" "Security showed up," Elena said. "We got out before they could ID us. Did they see your faces?" "Maybe. Hard to say." Rachel swore under her breath. "You know what that means, right?" "Yeah, they'll come looking." "Not just looking. They'll tear this city apart if they think you have something worth hiding." Elena plugged the USB drive into her laptop. "Then we'd better make sure this was worth it." Liam sat down next to her, watching the screen as files started to load. There were dozens of them. Emails, financial statements, recorded phone calls, everything labeled with dates and names. "This is it," Elena said quietly. "This is everything." Rachel leaned over, squinting at the screen. "You're telling me they just left all this on a computer? People get careless when they think they're untouchable. Or stupid." Elena opened one of the email threads. It was between the CEO and someone listed only as JM, discussing wire transfers, offshore accounts, and something called Project Clearwater. "What's Project Clearwater?" Liam asked. Elena scrolled through the emails. "Looks like a shell operation. They were funneling money through fake construction contracts, then moving it overseas." "How much money?" "Tens of millions, maybe more." Rachel whistled. "That's federal prison money." "If we can prove it," Elena said. She kept scrolling, and then she stopped. Liam saw it at the same time she did. An email dated 3 weeks before Claire's accident. The subject line read, "Loose ends." Elena opened it. The message was short, clinical, devoid of anything that could be called human. "Hayes and Carter are becoming a problem. Recommend immediate action before they escalate. Clean and quiet. No traces." Liam felt his stomach drop. "That's Claire," he said, voice hollow. "They're talking about Claire." Elena's jaw tightened. She didn't say anything, just kept staring at the screen. Rachel leaned closer. "Who sent that?" Elena checked the sender. "JM, same person who was coordinating the offshore accounts." "You know who that is?" "Not yet, but I will." Liam stood, pacing. His chest felt tight, like someone had wrapped a band around his ribs and was pulling it tighter with every breath. "They killed her," he said. "They actually killed her." "We knew that already," Elena said softly. "No, we suspected. This is proof." He stopped pacing, turned to face her. "This is proof that someone sat in an office and decided my wife had to die. Like she was a problem on a spreadsheet they needed to erase." Elena stood, walked over to him. "I know, and we're going to make them pay for it." "How? By sending this to the FBI? The same people who've been sitting on their hands for 3 years? We don't have a choice." "Yes, we do. We go public. We send this to every news outlet in the country. We make sure everyone knows what they did." Rachel held up a hand. "Slow down. You go public with this, you're painting a target on your back." "I already have a target on my back. A bigger one. Right now they're scrambling. They don't know what you have or what you're planning. You release this, they'll come after you with everything they've got." "Let them." Elena grabbed his arm. "Liam, listen to me. We do this smart or we don't do it at all." "I'm done being smart. I'm done hiding." "And what about Sophie?" That stopped him. He looked at Elena, then at Rachel, and the fight drained out of him. "She's upstairs," Rachel said. "Asleep. Doesn't know any of this is happening. You want to keep it that way. You need to think before you act." Liam sank back into the chair, head in his hands. Rachel was right. He hated it, but she was right. "What do we do?" he asked. Elena sat back down at the laptop. "We send this to the journalist. She knows how to handle it. She can get it to the right people without exposing us." "And then?" "Then we wait, and we stay out of sight." Liam nodded, even though every part of him wanted to do the opposite. Elena started copying files, encrypting them, preparing to send. Rachel poured herself another drink. "You two are going to get yourselves killed, you know that?" "Probably," Elena said without looking up. "And you're okay with that?" "Not really, but I'm more okay with it than doing nothing." Rachel shook her head. You're both insane. Yeah, Liam said. We've been hearing that a lot lately. Whoosh. The files went out that night. Elena's journalist contact, a woman named Sarah Vaughn, responded within an hour. This is bigger than I thought. I'm bringing in a team. Give me 48 hours. Elena showed Liam the message. 2 days, he said. 2 days. It felt like forever. They spent the next morning in a tense kind of limbo. Sophie woke up asking when they were going home, and Liam told her soon, even though he had no idea if that was true. Rachel made breakfast, scrambled eggs that were slightly runny and toast that was slightly burned, but no one complained. They ate in silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Liam kept checking his phone, waiting for news that never came. Elena was glued to her laptop, monitoring social media, news feeds, anything that might give them a sense of what was happening. Anything? Liam asked. Not yet, but it's coming. How do you know? Because this is too big to ignore. She was right. By midday, the first articles started dropping. Not from Sarah Vaughn, she was still working on the big piece, but from other journalists who'd gotten wind of the story. Speculation pieces, mostly. What's next for Meridian Industries? And is this the biggest corporate scandal of the decade? But the tone was shifting. The denials weren't sticking anymore. Elena's phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Story goes live tonight. Prepare for impact. Elena showed it to Liam. Tonight, he said. Yeah. And then? Then the whole world knows. Liam felt a strange mix of relief and dread. This was what they'd been working toward. But once it was out there was no taking it back. Rachel walked in, saw their faces. What happened? It's going live tonight, Elena said. Rachel poured herself coffee, even though it was barely noon. Well, guess we're about to find out if this was worth it. It was, Liam said. You sound sure. I am. Rachel raised her mug. Here's hoping you're right. The story broke at 8 that evening. Liam was sitting on the couch, Sophie curled up next to him, half asleep. Elena had her laptop open, refreshing the Herald's website every few seconds. And then it appeared. The headline was stark, uncompromising. Meridian Industries executives ordered killings to cover up fraud, internal documents reveal. Below it, Sarah Vaughn's byline. Elena clicked on the article, and they read it together. It was devastating. She'd laid out everything, the financial fraud, the shell companies, the offshore accounts. But more than that, she'd connected the dots. She'd shown how Claire and Elena's sister had uncovered the fraud, how they'd been targeted, and how their deaths had been orchestrated by people at the highest levels of the company. And she'd included the email. The one that talked about loose ends. The one that proved it wasn't an accident. Liam felt something break loose in his chest. Not grief exactly. More like vindication. She did it, he said. Yeah, Elena said. She did. Rachel walked in, phone in hand. You see this? We're reading it now. It's everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, every news outlet in the country is picking it up. Elena scrolled through her own phone. The FBI is issuing a statement. They're opening a full investigation. About time, Rachel muttered. Liam stood, walked to the window. Outside, the street was quiet. Normal. Like the world hadn't just shifted on its axis. What happens now? He asked. Now we see if the system works, Elena said. And if it doesn't? She didn't answer. Bram. The next morning, Meridian Industries' stock tanked. Trading was halted twice in the first hour as panicked investors tried to dump their shares. By noon, the company had lost nearly 40% of its value. The CEO resigned. So did the CFO. And by the end of the day, federal agents had raided Meridian's headquarters, hauling out boxes of documents and hard drives. It was happening. Liam watched it unfold on the news, feeling like he was watching someone else's life. Elena sat next to him, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the screen. You okay? He asked. I don't know yet. This is what you wanted, right? Yeah, but it doesn't feel the way I thought it would. What do you mean? She exhaled. I thought I'd feel, I don't know, relief, maybe, closure. But I just feel tired. Liam understood that. Revenge didn't fix anything. It didn't bring people back. It didn't undo the pain. But it was something. My sister used to say that the truth always comes out, Elena said quietly. I never believed her. Thought she was being naive. And now? Now I think maybe she was right. It just takes longer than it should. Liam reached over, put a hand on her shoulder. She'd be proud of you. Elena's eyes glistened, but she didn't cry. Yeah, maybe. Rachel walked in, phone in hand again. You two need to see this. She turned the screen toward them. It was a mugshot. A man in his 50s, graying hair, expensive suit, now rumpled. The caption underneath read, James Morrison, Meridian Industries 5P of Operations, arrested on charges of conspiracy to commit murder and fraud. JM, Elena said. That's him. Liam stared at the photo. This was the man who'd ordered Claire's death, who'd signed off on it like it was a business transaction. He wanted to feel something, anger, hatred, satisfaction, but all he felt was empty. They're charging him? He asked. Rachel nodded. Him and 3 others. Prosecutors are saying they have enough to put them away for life. Will it stick? If the evidence holds, yeah, these guys are done. Liam looked at Elena. We did it. She nodded slowly. Yeah, we did. But there was no celebration, just quiet acknowledgement. 2 days later, Liam and Sophie went home. Rachel had offered to let them stay longer, but Liam needed to get back. Needed to sleep in his own bed, make breakfast in his own kitchen. Needed some sense of normalcy, even if normal didn't exist anymore. Elena came with them. She didn't ask, just packed her bags and got in the car. Liam didn't argue. When they pulled up to the house, it looked the same as it had when they'd left. A little more overgrown maybe, but still standing. Sophie ran inside, relieved to be home. Liam and Elena followed more slowly. You gonna stay? Liam asked. Elena set her bag down. If that's okay. Yeah, it's okay. She smiled, just a little. Thanks. They spent the rest of the day settling back in. Liam mowed the lawn while Elena helped Sophie organize her room. It felt surreal, doing mundane things after everything that had happened. But it also felt right. That night, after Sophie was asleep, Liam and Elena sat on the porch. The air was cool, the street quiet. You think it's really over? Liam asked. The legal stuff? No, that'll drag on for months, maybe years. But the danger? Elena thought about it. Yeah, I think so. They're too exposed now. Going after us would just make it worse for them. Liam nodded. He wanted to believe her. What are you going to do now? He asked. I don't know. Haven't thought that far ahead. You could stay. Here, I mean. Elena looked at him. You sure? Yeah, Sophie likes you, and I do too. She smiled. I like you too. It wasn't a declaration. It wasn't a promise, but it was something. They sat in silence for a while, and then Elena spoke. I never thought I'd get here, she said. Where? To the end. I spent so long chasing this, I didn't think about what would happen after. And now? Now I think maybe I can stop running. Liam reached over, took her hand. She didn't pull away. The next few weeks were strange. The news cycle moved on, as it always did. Meridian Industries became a cautionary tale, a footnote in the endless stream of scandals and outrage. But for Liam, it was different. He'd spent 3 years in a fog, going through the motions, trying to survive. Now, for the first time, he felt like he could breathe. Sophie noticed the change. She didn't say anything, but Liam could tell. She smiled more, laughed more, stopped asking when things would go back to normal because this was normal now. Elena stayed. She moved her things into the guest room officially, started helping with groceries and cooking and all the little things that made a house feel like a home. It wasn't perfect. There were still hard days, days when Liam would see something that reminded him of Claire, and the grief would hit him all over again. But there were good days too. Days when he'd come downstairs and find Elena teaching Sophie how to make pancakes, flour everywhere, both of them laughing. Days when he'd sit on the porch with a cup of coffee and realize he wasn't dreading the next hour, the next day. One evening, about a month after everything had settled, Liam was in the kitchen washing dishes when Elena walked in. "Hey," she said. "Hey." She leaned against the counter. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Do you think Claire would have liked me?" Liam paused, thought about it. "Yeah, I think she would have." "Why?" "Because you're stubborn and you don't give up. She was like that too." Elena smiled. "That's a good answer. It's the truth." She was quiet for a moment. "I think my sister would have liked you." "Yeah?" "Yeah. She always said I needed someone who could keep up with me. Someone who wouldn't run when things got hard." "I didn't run." "No, you didn't." Liam dried his hands, turned to face her. "What are we doing here, Elena?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, this. Us. What is this?" She met his eyes. "I don't know, but I'd like to find out." "Me too." It wasn't a grand romantic moment. There were no fireworks, no sweeping declarations, but it was real, and that was enough. Checks. A few weeks later, Liam got a call from the prosecutor's office. They wanted him to testify. He agreed. The trial was set for 6 months out, and the prosecutor, a sharp woman in her 40s named Linda Cho, walked him through what to expect. "It's going to be hard," she said. "Defense is going to try to discredit you, make it seem like you're just looking for someone to blame. Let them try. I'm serious. They're going to dig into your life, your marriage, everything. You need to be ready for that." "I am." Linda studied him. "You seem calm." "I've had a lot of practice." She nodded. "Good. Because we need you to hold it together up there. The jury needs to see that you're credible, that you're not just some grieving husband out for revenge." "I'm not." "I know, but they don't. Not yet." Liam left the meeting feeling drained but determined. This was the last step, the final piece, and he was ready. The months leading up to the trial were a blur. Liam worked, took care of Sophie, spent time with Elena. They didn't talk about the future much, didn't make plans beyond the next week, the next month, but they were building something, slowly, carefully. Sophie started calling Elena by her name instead of just the lady who lives here. Small progress, but progress nonetheless. One night, Sophie asked Liam if Elena was going to stay forever. "I don't know, Bug." "Why?" "Because I hope she does." "Yeah?" "Yeah, she's nice, and she makes you smile." Liam pulled her close. "She does, doesn't she? So can she stay?" "That's up to her." Sophie thought about it. "I think she will." "What makes you say that?" "Because she looks at you the same way you look at her." Liam laughed. "When did you get so smart?" "I've always been smart. You just don't notice." "Fair enough." That night, after Sophie was asleep, Liam told Elena what she'd said. Elena smiled. "She's a smart kid." "She is. And she's right, you know." "About what?" "About me staying." Liam's heart picked up. "Yeah?" "Yeah, I mean, if that's okay with you." "It's more than okay." Elena stepped closer, and for the first time since they'd met, Liam kissed her. It was tentative at first, uncertain, but then it wasn't. And when they finally pulled apart, Elena rested her forehead against his. "I didn't think I'd get here," she said quietly. "Where?" "Somewhere that feels like home." Liam held her tighter. "Me neither." They stood there for a long time, just holding each other. And for the first time in years, Liam felt like maybe, just maybe, things were going to be okay. The weeks before the trial moved faster than Liam wanted them to. He'd wake up some mornings and forget what day it was, only to check his phone and realize he was one day closer to sitting in a courtroom and facing the people who'd killed his wife. Elena noticed. She always noticed. "You okay?" she asked one morning while he was making coffee. "Yeah." "You're a terrible liar." Liam poured 2 cups, slid one across to her. "I'm fine, just thinking." "About the trial?" "About everything." She took a sip, watching him over the rim of the mug. "You don't have to do this, you know. Linda said your deposition would be enough." "I know, but you want to be there." "I need to be there." Elena nodded. She understood. She'd been subpoenaed too, but her testimony was scheduled for later in the trial. Liam was going first. Sophie came downstairs wearing her backpack, already ready for school even though they didn't need to leave for another 20 minutes. "Morning, Bug," Liam said. "Morning." She grabbed a granola bar from the cabinet, started eating it while standing by the counter. "You gonna sit?" Liam asked. "I'm good." "Sophie?" She sighed, climbed onto a stool. "Happy?" "Thrilled." Elena hid a smile behind her coffee mug. Sophie looked between them. "Are you guys gonna get married?" Liam nearly choked on his coffee. Elena set her mug down carefully. "That's a big question for 7 in the morning." "It's not that big. You live here. You kiss. That's what people do before they get married." "Who told you that?" Liam asked. "No one. I figured it out." "Of course you did." Sophie took another bite of her granola bar. "So are you?" Liam looked at Elena. Elena looked back. "We haven't really talked about it," Liam said. "Why not?" "Because it's complicated." "No, it's not. You like her, she likes you. That's not complicated." Elena laughed. "She's got a point." Liam rubbed his face. "Can we talk about this later?" "Fine, but you should probably think about it." She hopped off the stool, grabbed her backpack, and headed toward the door. "I'll be in the car," she called over her shoulder. Liam stared after her. When did she get so bossy? "She's your daughter," Elena said. "What did you expect?" "Fair." Elena stood, walked over to him. "For what it's worth, I think she's right." "About what?" "About us. We should talk about it." "You want to get married?" Elena hesitated. "I don't know. Maybe. Someday. But I think we should at least figure out what we're doing. I thought we were figuring it out." "We are. But Sophie's not wrong. We can't just keep drifting." Liam reached out, took her hand. "I don't want to drift. I just don't want to rush into something because it feels like the right thing to do." "And if it is the right thing, then we'll know." Elena smiled. "Okay, but we're talking about this again, soon." "Deal." She kissed him, quick and soft, then grabbed her keys. "I'll pick Sophie up from school. You've got that meeting with Linda, right?" "Yeah, 2:00. "Good luck." "Thanks." She left, and Liam stood in the kitchen alone, staring at the empty doorway. Marriage. He hadn't thought about it, not seriously. After Claire died, the idea of being with someone else had felt impossible. And now, 3 years later, here he was, living with a woman who'd crashed into his life like a storm and somehow made it better. He didn't know if he was ready for marriage, but he knew he didn't want to lose her. The meeting with Linda Cho was in her office downtown, a cramped space filled with case files and empty coffee cups. She looked tired, but then again, she always looked tired. "Thanks for coming," she said, gesturing to a chair. Liam sat. "What's this about?" "Just wanted to go over your testimony one more time. Make sure we're on the same page." "We've been over it 3 times already." "I know, but the defense is going to come at you hard. I want to make sure you're ready." Liam leaned back. "I'm ready." Linda opened a folder, pulled out a document. "They're going to argue that you have a financial motive, that you're suing Meridian for wrongful death, and this is all part of that." "I'm not suing anyone." "Not yet. But they'll say you could, and that's enough to plant doubt." "So what do I say?" "You tell the truth. You say you're not interested in money. You're interested in justice. And if they don't believe me, then we make them believe you." Liam stared at her. "How?" "By being honest. By showing them who you are. You're not some opportunist trying to cash in on a tragedy. You're a father who lost his wife and wants the people responsible to pay for it. That's all I've ever wanted." "I know, and that's what the jury needs to see." She walked him through the questions again. What he'd say, how he'd say it, what to avoid. It was exhausting, but Liam forced himself to focus. This was it. The final push. When the meeting ended, Linda walked him to the door. "You're going to do great," she said. "You have to say that." "I don't, but I mean it." Liam nodded, shook her hand, and left. The night before the trial, Liam couldn't sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the house settle around him. Elena was asleep next to him, her breathing slow and steady. He wanted to wake her, to talk through the anxiety twisting in his chest, but he didn't. Instead, he got up, went downstairs and sat in the kitchen. The house was quiet. Too quiet. He thought about Claire, about the last conversation they'd had before she died. It had been nothing important, something about groceries maybe, or Sophie's school schedule. He couldn't even remember the details. And that was the worst part. He'd spent 3 years trying to hold on to her memory, and already the edges were blurring. Can't sleep? He turned. Elena was standing in the doorway, wearing one of his old t-shirts. Sorry, didn't mean to wake you. You didn't. She sat down across from him. You okay? Just thinking. About tomorrow? Yeah. Elena reached across the table, took his hand. You're going to be fine. What if I'm not? Then you won't be. But you'll get through it. Liam squeezed her hand. I don't know if I can do this. Yes, you can. How do you know? Because I've seen you do harder things. He wanted to believe her. He really did. What if they get away with it? He asked. They won't. But what if they do? Elena was quiet for a moment. Then we'll deal with it. But we can't think like that. Not now. Liam nodded, even though the fear was still there. They sat in silence for a while, and then Elena spoke. When this is over, she said, let's go somewhere. Where? I don't know, somewhere that's not here. Somewhere we can just breathe. What about Sophie? We'll bring her. Make it a trip, just the 3 of us. Liam smiled. I'd like that. Me too. They went back to bed, and this time Liam fell asleep. The courthouse was massive, all marble and high ceilings, and the kind of architecture designed to make you feel small. Liam stood outside with Elena, watching people stream in and out, lawyers, reporters, families of the accused. You ready? Elena asked. No. Good. That means you're paying attention. Linda appeared, briefcase in hand. Liam. Good. Let's go over a few things before we head in. She pulled him aside, ran through the plan one more time. Liam nodded along, but he wasn't really listening. His mind was already in the courtroom, already on the stand. Liam, Linda said sharply. Focus. I am. No, you're not. Look at me. He did. You're going to walk in there, you're going to sit down, and you're going to tell the truth. That's it. Don't overthink it. Don't try to outsmart the defense. Just be honest. Okay. I mean it. The jury doesn't need a performance. They need to see you. I got it. Linda nodded, satisfied. Good. Let's go. They walked into the courtroom together. It was already packed. Reporters in the back rows, families of the victims on one side, Meridian's legal team on the other. And at the defense table, James Morrison. Liam's stomach clenched. This was the man who'd ordered Claire's death, who'd signed off on it like it was nothing. Morrison didn't look at him, just sat there in his expensive suit, whispering to his lawyer. Liam wanted to walk over there, to grab him by the collar and demand answers. But he didn't. He sat down next to Linda, hands folded in his lap, and waited. The judge entered, and the trial began. The prosecution's opening statement was strong, clear, methodical, devastating. They laid out the case piece by piece, showing how Meridian had orchestrated the cover-up, how they'd targeted Claire and Elena's sister, how they'd tried to bury the truth. The defense's opening was predictable. They argued that the evidence was circumstantial, that the prosecution was building a case on speculation and emotion, not facts. Liam watched it all, detached, like he was watching a movie about someone else's life. And then Linda called his name. The prosecution calls Liam Carter to the stand. Liam stood, walked to the front of the courtroom, and took the oath. His hands were shaking, but he kept them at his sides. Linda approached, gave him a small nod. Mr. Carter, can you tell the court about your wife, Claire? Liam took a breath. She was an auditor, worked for a firm that did contract work for Meridian Industries. And what was she working on at the time of her death? She was reviewing their financials, looking for discrepancies. Did she find any? Yes. Can you describe what she found? She found evidence of fraud, millions of dollars being funneled through fake companies. And did she report this? She was planning to, but she died before she could. Linda paused, letting the words hang in the air. How did she die, Mr. Carter? Car accident. Her brakes failed. And at the time, did you believe it was an accident? Yes. Do you still believe that? Liam looked at Morrison. No. Why not? Because I've seen the evidence. I know her brake lines were cut. The defense lawyer stood. Objection, speculation. The judge looked at Linda. Counselor, we'll establish the evidence through expert testimony, Your Honor. Mr. Carter is simply stating what he's come to understand. Overruled. Continue. Linda turned back to Liam. Mr. Carter, when did you first learn that your wife's death might not have been an accident? A few months ago, when Elena Hayes came to me with evidence. And what did you do with that information? We investigated, found more evidence, and brought it to you. And why did you do that? Liam's voice was steady. Because I wanted the truth, and I wanted the people responsible to be held accountable. Linda nodded. Thank you. No further questions. The defense lawyer stood, straightening his tie. Mr. Carter, you've been through a lot, haven't you? Yes. Lost your wife, raising a daughter on your own. That must be difficult. It is. And expensive. Liam frowned. What's your point? My point is that you have a financial interest in this case. A wrongful death lawsuit could net you millions. I'm not suing anyone. But you could. I'm not interested in money. Really? Because it seems like you're very interested in blaming my client for your wife's death. Liam's jaw tightened. Your client ordered her death. Objection, the defense lawyer said. Argumentative. Sustained, the judge said. Mr. Carter, please stick to answering the questions. The defense lawyer continued. Isn't it true that you have no direct evidence linking Mr. Morrison to your wife's death? I have emails. I have documents. You have circumstantial evidence. Nothing that directly ties my client to any wrongdoing. Liam leaned forward. Your client sent an email talking about eliminating loose ends. My wife was one of those loose ends. That's your interpretation. It's the truth. The defense lawyer smiled. The truth, Mr. Carter, is that you're a grieving widower looking for someone to blame, and you've latched onto my client because it gives you someone to be angry at. Liam's hands clenched. I'm angry because your client killed my wife. Objection. Sustained. Mr. Carter, I'm warning you. The defense lawyer turned away, smug. No further questions. Liam stepped down, hands still shaking, adrenaline coursing through him. Linda met him at the table. You did good. Didn't feel like it. Trust me, you did, Wast. The trial continued for another week. Witnesses testified. Experts analyzed the evidence. The prosecution built their case, piece by piece, until the picture was undeniable. Meridian Industries had committed fraud. They'd covered it up. And they'd killed people to keep it hidden. Elena testified on the 5th day. She was calm, composed, devastating. She walked the jury through her investigation, showed them the connections, made it impossible to ignore. The defense tried to rattle her, but she didn't flinch. Liam watched from the gallery, proud and terrified in equal measure. When it was over, when both sides had rested and the closing arguments had been made, the jury deliberated. It took 3 days. 3 days of waiting, of second-guessing, of wondering if they'd done enough. And then the call came. The jury had reached a verdict. Liam and Elena sat in the courtroom, hands clasped together, waiting. The jury filed in, faces unreadable. The judge asked the foreman to read the verdict. In the case of the state versus James Morrison, on the charge of conspiracy to commit murder, we find the defendant guilty. Liam's breath caught. On the charge of fraud, we find the defendant guilty. Elena squeezed his hand. On all remaining charges, we find the defendant guilty. The courtroom erupted. Reporters scrambled. Morrison's face went pale. Liam just sat there, staring at the jury, trying to process it. They'd won. After everything, they'd actually won. Linda turned to him, smiling. We did it. Liam nodded, unable to speak. Elena leaned into him, and he wrapped an arm around her. It's over, she whispered. Yeah, he said. It's over. Ma'am. They left the courthouse together, stepping out into the afternoon sun. Reporters swarmed, shouting questions, but Linda's team held them back. Liam and Elena walked to the car in silence. When they got in, Liam just sat there, hands on the steering wheel, staring at nothing. You okay? Elena asked. I don't know. That's fair. They drove home, and when they pulled into the driveway, Sophie was waiting on the porch with Rachel. Sophie ran over, threw her arms around Liam. Did you win? Liam picked her up. Yeah, Bug. We won. Good. Can we have pizza for dinner? Liam laughed, the first real laugh he'd had in weeks. Yeah, we can have pizza. Rachel walked over, gave Elena a hug. Congratulations. Thanks. You two did something most people wouldn't have the guts to do. Elena shrugged. We didn't have a choice. Yeah, you did, and you made the right one. That night they ordered pizza, sat around the kitchen table, and just existed. No talk of trials or verdicts or what came next. Just pizza, laughter, and the feeling that maybe, finally, they could start to heal. Sophie fell asleep on the couch, and Liam carried her upstairs. When he came back down, Elena was on the porch, staring at the street. He joined her, and they stood there in the quiet. What are you thinking? He asked. That I don't know what to do now. What do you mean? I've spent so long chasing this, and now it's done. I don't know what comes next. Liam took her hand. We figure it out. Together. Elena looked at him. You sure you want that? I've never been more sure of anything. She smiled, and it was real. Not the guarded smile she usually wore, but something open and genuine. Okay, she said. Let's figure it out. They went inside, turned off the lights, and went to bed. And for the first time in years, Liam slept without nightmares. The morning after the verdict, Liam woke up to sunlight streaming through the bedroom window and the smell of coffee drifting up from the kitchen. For a moment, he just lay there, letting himself feel the weight of it, the relief, the exhaustion, the strange, hollow space where fear and anger had lived for so long. Elena was already downstairs. He could hear her moving around, the clink of mugs, the quiet hum she made when she thought no one was listening. He got up, pulled on a shirt, and went down to find her. She was at the stove, scrambling eggs. Sophie sat at the counter, still in her pajamas, swinging her legs and talking about something that had happened at school. And then Marcus said his dad could beat up anyone's dad, and I said my dad already beat up bad guys in court, so he didn't know what he was talking about. Elena laughed. Did you really say that? Yeah. And then Marcus didn't have anything to say back. Liam leaned against the doorframe. You know I didn't actually beat anyone up, right? Sophie turned. I know, but it sounded cooler that way. Fair enough. Elena slid a plate of eggs across to Sophie, then poured Liam a cup of coffee. Sleep okay? She asked. Better than I have in a long time. Good. They ate breakfast together, the three of them, and it felt normal in a way that Liam hadn't expected. Not perfect. Nothing was perfect. But real, solid, like something he could build on. After Sophie went upstairs to get dressed, Elena turned to him. So, she said, what now? Liam set his mug down. What do you mean? I mean, the trial's over. Morrison's going to prison. The company's falling apart. We did what we set out to do. And I don't know what comes next. Liam reached across the table, took her hand. We figure it out. Together. Like we said. Elena smiled, but there was something uncertain in her eyes. I've been thinking about that. About what? About staying. About whether this is really what I should be doing. Liam's chest tightened. You want to leave? No, that's the problem. I don't want to leave, but I also don't know if I'm the right person to be here. What are you talking about? You're exactly the right person. Elena pulled her hand back, wrapped both hands around her coffee mug. I came here for one reason, Liam, to find the people who killed my sister. And now that's done. I don't know who I am without that. You're you. That's enough. Is it? Yeah, it is. She looked at him and he could see the doubt there, the fear that she was somehow not enough, that she'd only ever been useful when she was chasing something. I spent 3 years running, she said quietly, chasing leads, digging through files, trying to find answers. And now that I have them, I don't know what to do with myself. Liam stood, walked around the table, crouched down next to her chair. So we figure it out. You don't have to have all the answers today. But what if I never figure it out? What if I wake up one day and realize I don't belong here? Then we deal with it. But you don't get to make that decision for me. Or for Sophie. Elena's eyes glistened. She deserves better than someone who's still trying to put herself back together. She deserves someone who cares about her. And you do. I don't know how to do this, Liam. I don't know how to be part of a family. Neither did I. Not after Claire died. But we're learning. Elena wiped her eyes, laughed shakily. We're a mess, aren't we? Yeah, but we're a mess together. She leaned into him and he wrapped his arms around her. I'm scared, she whispered. Me too. Of what? Of losing this. Of screwing it up. Elena pulled back, looked at him. You won't? You don't know that. No, but I'm choosing to believe it anyway. Liam kissed her forehead. Then that's what we do. We choose to believe it. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm. Liam went back to work, taking on freelance projects he'd been putting off. Elena started looking for a job, something that wasn't tied to investigations or corporate fraud, something that felt like a fresh start. Sophie went back to school, and life moved forward, but there were still moments when the past crept in. One afternoon, Liam was cleaning out the garage when he found a box labeled Claire's stuff. He'd packed it away years ago, back when looking at her things hurt too much. He sat down on the concrete floor, pulled the box open. Inside were photos, old letters, a scarf she used to wear. He picked up one of the photos. Claire at their wedding, laughing at something someone had said, looking so alive it hurt. He stared at it for a long time. Hey. He looked up. Elena was standing in the doorway. Sorry, she said. Didn't mean to interrupt. You're not. She walked over, sat down next to him. That her? Yeah. Elena looked at the photo. She's beautiful. She was. They sat in silence for a moment, and then Elena spoke. You still love her? It wasn't a question. Yeah, Liam said. I do. Is that okay? Of course it's okay. She was your wife. You don't just stop loving someone because they're gone. Liam set the photo down. I don't want you to think I don't. I know what this is, and I'm okay with it. Are you sure? Elena nodded. I loved my sister, and I always will. That doesn't mean I can't love other people too. Liam looked at her. You love me? Yeah, I do. It was the first time she'd said it out loud. Liam reached over, took her hand. I love you too. Elena smiled, and it was soft and real and completely hers. They sat there in the garage, surrounded by the past, and for the first time, Liam felt like it was okay to let it coexist with the present. Well, a month after the trial, Rachel called. Turn on the news, she said. Liam grabbed the remote, flipped to one of the major networks. The headline read, Meridian Industries files for bankruptcy. The anchor was explaining how the company had collapsed under the weight of lawsuits, federal investigations, and public backlash. Investors had fled, clients had canceled contracts, and now the company that had once been worth billions was filing for Chapter 11. Couldn't have happened to nicer people, Rachel said on the other end of the line. Liam laughed. Yeah. How are you doing? Good. Really good, actually. And Elena? She's great. We're great. Rachel was quiet for a moment. I'm glad. You deserve it. Thanks, Rachel, for everything. Don't get sentimental on me. I just did my job. You did more than that. Yeah, well, don't tell anyone. I have a reputation to maintain. Liam hung up, still smiling. Elena walked in, saw the TV. Meridian? They're done. She sat down next to him, and they watched the rest of the segment together. When it was over, Elena turned to him. Does it feel like closure? Liam thought about it. Yeah, I think it does. Good. She leaned her head on his shoulder, and they sat there, watching the news cycle move on to the next story. 2 months later, on a Saturday afternoon, Liam took Sophie and Elena to the beach. It was Elena's idea. She'd said they needed to get out of the house, needed to do something normal. So they packed sandwiches, grabbed towels, and drove 2 hours to the coast. Sophie ran straight to the water, shrieking as the waves hit her legs. Liam and Elena set up a blanket, sat down, and watched her play. She's happy, Elena said. Yeah, she is. You think she's okay? After everything? Liam nodded. Kids are resilient. She's tougher than she looks. She gets that from you. Maybe. Elena reached over, laced her fingers through his. I've been thinking. About what? About what you said. About figuring things out together. Yeah? I want to do that. I want to stay. Not just because I don't have anywhere else to go, but because this is where I want to be. Liam turned to her. You're sure? I'm sure. He kissed her, slow and soft, and when they pulled apart, Sophie was standing in front of them, dripping wet and grinning. Gross, she said. You'll understand when you're older, Liam said. No, I won't. Elena laughed. Come on, let's build a sandcastle. Sophie grabbed her hand and they ran off toward the water. Liam watched them, and for the first time in years, he felt like he could breathe. That night, after Sophie was asleep, Liam and Elena sat on the porch. The air was cool, the sky clear. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked. I was thinking, Liam said. About? About what Sophie said. About us getting married. Elena looked at him. Yeah? I don't know if I'm ready, but I think I want to be. Elena smiled. That's a start. What about you? She thought about it. I think I want to be ready too, but I don't want to rush it. I want to make sure we're doing it for the right reasons. Fair enough? They sat in silence for a while, and then Elena spoke. My sister used to say that the best things in life are the ones you don't plan for, the ones that just happen. You think that's true? I don't know, but I think we're proof that sometimes the unexpected turns out to be exactly what you need. Liam reached over, took her hand. I'm glad you showed up that day. Me too. They stayed out there until the stars came out, talking about everything and nothing, making plans that might not happen, and promises they intended to keep. And when they finally went inside, Liam realized something. He wasn't running from the past anymore. He wasn't trying to bury it or ignore it or pretend it didn't exist. He was carrying it with him, letting it be part of who he was, but not letting it define him. Claire would always be a part of his life, but so would Elena and Sophie, and whatever came next, and that was okay. 6 months later, on a warm spring afternoon, Liam and Elena got married. It wasn't a big wedding, just a small ceremony in the backyard with Rachel and a few close friends, and Sophie standing between them as they exchanged vows. Liam had been nervous all morning, fumbling with his tie, pacing the kitchen until Elena told him to sit down before he wore a hole in the floor. But when the moment came, when he stood there looking at her, everything else faded away. I didn't think I'd get here, he said, his voice shaking just a little. After Claire died, I didn't think I'd ever feel whole again. But you showed me that it's okay to move forward, that loving someone new doesn't mean forgetting someone you lost. So thank you for being stubborn and brave and for not giving up on me. Elena's eyes were wet, but she was smiling. I spent so long running, she said, from my past, from my pain, from anything that felt too real. But you made me stop. You made me see that I could have a home, a family, a life that wasn't built on anger and grief. So thank you for letting me in, for giving me a reason to stay. They kissed, and Sophie clapped, and Rachel wiped her eyes even though she'd sworn she wouldn't cry. After the ceremony, they had cake on the porch and watched the sun set over the yard. Sophie sat between them, swinging her legs, already planning what she was going to tell her friends at school on Monday. You're officially my stepmom now, she said to Elena. I guess I am. Does that mean I have to listen to you? It means you have to listen to both of us, Sophie groaned. That's not fair. Liam laughed. Life's not fair, Bug. Yeah. She ran off to play, and Liam leaned back watching her. Elena rested her head on his shoulder. You think we're going to be okay? Yeah, I think we are. Even when things get hard? Especially then, she smiled. Good answer. They sat there as the light faded and the stars came out and the world kept turning. And for the first time in a long time, Liam felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. A year later, Liam stood in the cemetery holding a bouquet of flowers. It was the anniversary of Claire's death, and he came here every year, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. He set the flowers down, crouched in front of the headstone. "Hey," he said quietly. "It's been a while." The wind rustled through the trees, carrying the scent of rain. "Things are good," he continued. "Sophie's doing great. She's in 3rd grade now, getting straight A's, and she's somehow even more stubborn than she used to be. I don't know where she gets it." He smiled. "I got married. Her name's Elena. You would have liked her. She's smart and tough, and she doesn't take any of my nonsense. She's good with Sophie. Good for me." He paused, looking at the headstone. "I know you'd want me to be happy, and I am, but I still miss you. I think I always will." He stood, brushed off his knees. "I hope you're proud of what we did, of how we got justice for you. I hope it means something." He turned to leave, and then he saw her. Elena was standing by the gate, waiting. She didn't say anything, just gave him a small smile. Liam walked over, took her hand. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah, I'm okay." They walked back to the car together, and Liam took one last look at the cemetery. He'd spent so long living in the past, haunted by what he'd lost. But now he had a future, a life, a family, and that was enough. That night, after Sophie was asleep, Liam and Elena sat on the porch, the way they always did. "What are you thinking about?" Elena asked. "About how far we've come." "Yeah? Yeah. A year ago, I didn't think I'd make it through the trial. And now look at us." Elena smiled. "We did good, didn't we?" "We did." She leaned into him, and he wrapped his arm around her. "You know what I realized today?" Liam said. "What?" "That grief doesn't go away, it just changes. It becomes part of you, but it doesn't have to be all of you." Elena nodded. "I think you're right. And I think Claire would be okay with that. With us." "I think so too." They sat in silence, watching the stars, and Liam felt a peace he hadn't known was possible. The past would always be there, the pain, the loss, the memories, but so would the present and the future. And that was the lesson, he realized, that life didn't stop because you wanted it to. That healing wasn't about forgetting, it was about learning to carry the weight without letting it crush you. It was about finding people who'd help you carry it. People like Elena, like Sophie, like Rachel and Linda, and everyone who'd stood by them when things were hard. It was about choosing to move forward even when the past tried to hold you back. And it was about believing that the future could be just as beautiful as anything you'd lost. Maybe more so. "I love you," Liam said. Elena looked at him. "I love you too." They stayed out there until the night grew cold, and the stars faded, and the first light of dawn started to creep over the horizon. And when they finally went inside, Liam didn't look back. He didn't need to, because everything he needed was right here. The morning after the verdict, Liam woke up to sunlight streaming through the bedroom window and the smell of coffee drifting up from the kitchen. For a moment, he just lay there, letting himself feel the weight of it, the relief, the exhaustion, the strange hollow space where fear and anger had lived for so long. Elena was already downstairs. He could hear her moving around, the clink of mugs, the quiet hum she made when she thought no one was listening. He got up, pulled on her shirt, and went down to find her. She was at the stove, scrambling eggs. Sophie sat at the counter, still in her pajamas, swinging her legs and talking about something that had happened at school. And then Marcus said his dad could beat up anyone's dad, and I said my dad already beat up bad guys in court, so he didn't know what he was talking about. Elena laughed. "Did you really say that?" "Yeah." And then Marcus didn't have anything to say back. Liam leaned against the doorframe. "You know I didn't actually beat anyone up, right?" Sophie turned. "I know, but it sounded cooler that way." "Fair enough." Elena slid a plate of eggs across to Sophie, then poured Liam a cup of coffee. "Sleep okay?" she asked. "Better than I have in a long time." "Good." They ate breakfast together, the three of them, and it felt normal in a way that Liam hadn't expected. Not perfect. Nothing was perfect, but real, solid, like something he could build on. After Sophie went upstairs to get dressed, Elena turned to him. "So," she said, "what now?" Liam set his mug down. "What do you mean?" "I mean, the trial's over. Morrison's going to prison. The company's falling apart. We did what we set out to do." "And?" And I don't know what comes next. Liam reached across the table, took her hand. We figure it out. Together. Like we said. Elena smiled, but there was something uncertain in her eyes. I've been thinking about that. About what? About staying. About whether this is really what I should be doing. Liam's chest tightened. You want to leave? No, that's the problem. I don't want to leave. But I also don't know if I'm the right person to be here. What are you talking about? You're exactly the right person. Elena pulled her hand back, wrapped both hands around her coffee mug. I came here for one reason, Liam. To find the people who killed my sister. And now that's done. I don't know who I am without that. You're you. That's enough. Is it? Yeah, it is. She looked at him, and he could see the doubt there, the fear that she was somehow not enough, that she'd only ever been useful when she was chasing something. I spent 3 years running, she said quietly. Chasing leads, digging through files, trying to find answers. And now that I have them, I don't know what to do with myself. Liam stood, walked around the table, crouched down next to her chair. So we figure it out. You don't have to have all the answers today. But what if I never figure it out? What if I wake up one day and realize I don't belong here? Then we deal with it. But you don't get to make that decision for me, or for Sophie. Elena's eyes glistened. She deserves better than someone who's still trying to put herself back together. She deserves someone who cares about her. And you do. I don't know how to do this, Liam. I don't know how to be part of a family. Neither did I. Not after Claire died. But we're learning. Elena wiped her eyes, laughed shakily. We're a mess, aren't we? Yeah, but we're a mess together. She leaned into him, and he wrapped his arms around her. I'm scared, she whispered. Me too. Of what? Of losing this. Of screwing it up. Elena pulled back, looked at him. You won't? You don't know that. No, but I'm choosing to believe it anyway. Liam kissed her forehead. Then that's what we do. We choose to believe it. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm that felt almost foreign in its ordinariness. Liam went back to work, taking on freelance projects he'd been putting off. Elena started looking for a job, something that wasn't tied to investigations or corporate fraud, something that felt like a fresh start. Sophie went back to school, and life moved forward in the way it does when the storm is past, and you're left to rebuild in the aftermath. But there were still moments when the past crept in, uninvited and persistent. One afternoon, Liam was cleaning out the garage when he found a box labeled Claire's Stuff. He'd packed it away years ago, back when looking at her things hurt too much. He sat down on the concrete floor, pulled the box open, and let himself look. Inside were photos, old letters, a scarf she used to wear that still faintly smelled like her perfume. He picked up one of the photos. Claire at their wedding, laughing at something someone had said, looking so alive it hurt to see. He stared at it for a long time, feeling the familiar ache settle in his chest. Hey! He looked up. Elena was standing in the doorway, backlit by the afternoon sun. Sorry, she said. Didn't mean to interrupt. You're not. She walked over, sat down next to him on the cold floor. That her? Yeah. Elena looked at this photo, really looked, and Liam watched her face for any sign of discomfort or jealousy. There wasn't any. She's beautiful, Elena said softly. She was. They sat in silence for a moment, and then Elena spoke again. You still love her. It wasn't a question. Yeah, Liam said. I do. Is that okay? Of course it's okay. She was your wife. You don't just stop loving someone because they're gone. Liam set the photo down carefully. I don't want you to think that means I love you less. I don't. I know what this is, and I'm okay with it. Are you sure? Elena nodded. I loved my sister, and I always will. That doesn't mean I can't love other people too. Love isn't finite. It doesn't run out just because you give it to someone new. Liam looked at her, really looked, and felt something loosen in his chest. You love me? He asked. Yeah, I do. It was the first time she'd said it out loud. Liam reached over, took her hand. I love you too. Elena smiled, and it was soft and real and completely hers. They sat there in the garage, surrounded by the past, and for the first time Liam felt like it was okay to let it coexist with the present. The past didn't have to be erased or forgotten. It could just be a part of the story, but not the whole thing. A month after the trial, Rachel called with news. "Turn on the news," she said without preamble. Liam grabbed the remote, flipped to one of the major networks. The headline read, "Meridian Industries files for bankruptcy." The anchor was explaining how the company had collapsed under the weight of lawsuits, federal investigations, and public backlash. Investors had fled. Clients had canceled contracts. And now, the company that had once been worth billions was filing for Chapter 11. "Couldn't have happened to nicer people," Rachel said on the other end of the line. Liam laughed. "Yeah. How are you doing?" "Good. Really good, actually." "And Elena?" "She's great. We're great." Rachel was quiet for a moment. "I'm glad. You deserve it." "Thanks, Rachel, for everything." "Don't get sentimental on me. I just did my job." "You did more than that." "Yeah, well, don't tell anyone. I have a reputation to maintain." Liam hung up, still smiling. Elena walked in, saw the TV. "Meridian? They're done." She sat down next to him, and they watched the rest of the segment together. When it was over, Elena turned to him. "Does it feel like closure?" she asked. Liam thought about it. "Yeah, I think it does." "Good." She leaned her head on his shoulder, and they sat there, watching the news cycle move on to the next story, the next scandal, the next tragedy. The world kept spinning. That was the thing about life. It didn't stop just because you'd been through something hard. It kept going, and you had to decide whether you were going to move with it or stay stuck in the wreckage. Liam had spent 3 years stuck. He was done with that. 2 months later, on a Saturday afternoon, Liam took Sophie and Elena to the beach. It was Elena's idea. She'd said they needed to get out of the house, needed to do something normal, something that had nothing to do with trials or verdicts or the past. So they packed sandwiches, grabbed towels, and drove 2 hours to the coast. Sophie ran straight to the water, shrieking as the waves hit her legs. Liam and Elena set up a blanket, sat down, and watched her play. "She's happy," Elena said. "Yeah, she is." "You think she's okay? After everything?" Liam nodded. "Kids are resilient. She's tougher than she looks. She gets that from you." "Maybe." Elena reached over, laced her fingers through his. "I've been thinking." "About what?" "About what you said. About figuring things out together." "Yeah?" "I want to do that. I want to stay. Not just because I don't have anywhere else to go, but because this is where I want to be." Liam turned to her. "You're sure?" "I'm sure." He kissed her, slow and soft, and when they pulled apart, Sophie was standing in front of them, dripping wet and grinning. "Gross," she said. "You'll understand when you're older," Liam said. "No, I won't." Elena laughed. "Come on, let's build a sandcastle." Sophie grabbed her hand and they ran off toward the water. Liam watched them, and for the first time in years, he felt like he could breathe. Really breathe. Not the shallow, survival breathing he'd been doing since Claire died, but deep, full breaths that filled his lungs and reminded him he was still alive. He'd forgotten what that felt like. That night, after Sophie was asleep, Liam and Elena sat on the porch. The air was cool, the sky clear. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked. "I was thinking," Liam said. "About?" "About what Sophie said a while back, about us getting married." Elena looked at him, eyebrows raised. "Yeah? I don't know if I'm ready, but I think I want to be." Elena smiled. "That's a start. What about you?" She thought about it. "I think I want to be ready too, but I don't want to rush it. I want to make sure we're doing it for the right reasons." "Fair enough." They sat in silence for a while, and then Elena spoke. "My sister used to say that the best things in life are the ones you don't plan for, the ones that just happen when you're not looking." "You think that's true?" "I don't know, but I think we're proof that sometimes the unexpected turns out to be exactly what you need." Liam reached over, took her hand. "I'm glad you showed up that day." "Me too." They stayed out there until the stars came out, talking about everything and nothing, making plans that might not happen and promises they intended to keep. And when they finally went inside, Liam realized something. He wasn't running from the past anymore. He wasn't trying to bury it or ignore it or pretend it didn't exist. He was carrying it with him, letting it be part of who he was, but not letting it define him. Claire would always be a part of his life, but so would Elena, and Sophie, and whatever came next. And that was okay. That was more than okay. It was enough. 6 months later, on a warm spring afternoon, Liam and Elena got married. It wasn't a big wedding, just a small ceremony in the backyard with Rachel and a handful of close friends, and Sophie standing between them as they exchanged vows. The grass needed mowing, and the flower beds were a little wild, but it was home, and that mattered more than perfection ever could. Liam had been nervous all morning, fumbling with his tie, pacing the kitchen until Elena told him to sit down before he wore a hole in the floor. But when the moment came, when he stood there looking at her in a simple white dress with flowers in her hair, everything else faded away. "I didn't think I'd get here," he said, his voice shaking just a little. "After Claire died, I didn't think I'd ever feel whole again, but you showed me that it's okay to move forward, that loving someone new doesn't mean forgetting someone you lost. It just means you're brave enough to try again. So thank you for being stubborn and brave, and for not giving up on me when I gave you every reason to." Elena's eyes were wet, but she was smiling. "I spent so long running," she said, "from my past, from my pain, from anything that felt too real. But you made me stop. You made me see that I could have a home, a family, a life that wasn't built on anger and grief. You gave me permission to be happy again. So thank you for letting me in, for giving me a reason to stay, for showing me that family isn't just something you're born into, it's something you choose." They kissed, and Sophie clapped, and Rachel wiped her eyes even though she'd sworn she wouldn't cry. After the ceremony, they had cake on the porch and watched the sunset over the yard. Sophie sat between them, swinging her legs, already planning what she was going to tell her friends at school on Monday. "You're officially my stepmom now," she said to Elena. "I guess I am. Does that mean I have to listen to you?" "It means you have to listen to both of us." Sophie groaned. "That's not fair." Liam laughed. "Life's not fair, bug." Yeah. She ran off to play, and Liam leaned back, watching her chase fireflies in the fading light. Elena rested her head on his shoulder. "You think we're going to be okay?" "Yeah, I think we are. Even when things get hard?" "Especially then." She smiled. "Good answer." They sat there as the light faded and the stars came out, and the world kept turning the way it always did, indifferent to joy and sorrow alike. And for the first time in a long time, Liam felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. A year later, Liam stood in the cemetery, holding a bouquet of flowers. It was the anniversary of Claire's death, and he came here every year, not because he had to, but because he wanted to, because forgetting felt like a betrayal, and remembering felt like keeping a promise. He set the flowers down, crouched in front of the headstone. "Hey," he said quietly. "It's been a while." The wind rustled through the trees, carrying the scent of rain that hadn't fallen yet. "Things are good," he continued. "Sophie's doing great. She's in 3rd grade now, getting straight A's, and she's somehow even more stubborn than she used to be. I don't know where she gets it." He smiled. "I got married. Her name's Elena. I think you would have liked her. She's smart and tough, and she doesn't take any of my nonsense. She's good with Sophie, good for me." He paused, looking at the headstone, at Claire's name carved into the stone. "I know you'd want me to be happy, and I am, but I still miss you. I think I always will. You don't stop missing someone just because you've moved on. You just learn to carry it better." He stood, brushed off his knees. "I hope you're proud of what we did, of how we got justice for you. I hope it means something, wherever you are." He turned to leave, and then he saw her. Elena was standing by the gate, waiting. She didn't say anything, just gave him a small smile. Liam walked over, took her hand. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah, I'm okay." They walked back to the car together, and Liam took one last look at the cemetery. He'd spent so long living in the past, haunted by what he'd lost. But now he had a future, a life, a family, and that was enough, more than enough. That night, after Sophie was asleep, Liam and Elena sat on the porch, the way they always did. It had become their ritual, these quiet moments at the end of the day when the world felt manageable again. "What are you thinking about?" Elena asked. "About how far we've come." "Yeah?" "Yeah. A year ago I didn't think I'd make it through the trial. And now look at us." Elena smiled. "We did good, didn't we?" "We did." She leaned into him and he wrapped his arm around her. "You know what I realized today?" Liam said. "What?" "That grief doesn't go away. It just changes. It becomes part of you, but it doesn't have to be all of you." Elena nodded. "I think you're right. And I think Claire would be okay with that. With us. I think so too." They sat in silence, watching the stars, and Liam felt a peace he hadn't known was possible. The past would always be there, the pain, the loss, the memories. But so would the present and the future. And that was the lesson, he realized. That life didn't stop because you wanted it to. That healing wasn't about forgetting, it was about learning to carry the weight without letting it crush you. It was about finding people who'd help you carry it. People like Elena, like Sophie, like Rachel and Linda, and everyone who'd stood by them when things were hard. It was about choosing to move forward, even when the past tried to hold you back. About believing that the future could be just as beautiful as anything you'd lost. Maybe more so, because you knew how fragile it was. How precious. "I love you," Liam said. Elena looked at him. "I love you too." They stayed out there until the night grew cold and the stars faded and the first light of dawn started to creep over the horizon. And when they finally went inside, Liam didn't look back. He didn't need to, because everything he needed was right here. The truth had come out. Justice had been served. The guilty had been punished. But more than that, he'd learned something that no trial could teach him. That closure wasn't about getting answers. It was about deciding to live again, even when the questions remained. It was about choosing hope over bitterness, love over fear, and believing that broken things could be repaired, even if they'd never be the same. He'd lost Claire. He'd carry that forever. But he'd found Elena, and Sophie was thriving, and they were building something new together. Not a replacement for what was lost, but something that stood on its own, something real, something worth fighting for. And in the end, that was all anyone could ask for. A second chance, a new beginning, a reason to keep going. Liam had all three now, and he wasn't going to waste them.